Welcome to the APWU History Center, here in the Mobiller Building, the headquarters of the American Postal Workers Union. Here we tell the story not just of the Postal Service, but of the workers that built it and the struggles that workers undertook to win their union, secure their rights, and improve their lives. A window screen unit, mailbox, and post office boxes give us an idea of what a post office might have looked like many generations ago. While the work has changed over the years, the APWU History Center memorializes the battles postal workers had to fight to win basic rights, safety, and fair pay on the job. This exhibit encourages you to imagine what it would be like as a postal worker decades ago. The first section of the History Center explores some of the early challenges faced by the workforce at what was then called the Post Office Department. Black and white workers were often separated into different job classifications, with men and women in different work areas as well. Women couldn't be letter carriers or sort the mail, but the post office was happy to employ them in lower status jobs, like sewing mail bags. Postal work was often quite dangerous. For example, workers moving the mail along the railroads faced accidents and thefts. Workers responded by organizing together in the workplace to improve their rights and safety. As early as the 1870s, workers on the railway mail service began to organize and formed a mutual benefit association, which provided low-cost life insurance. That Railway Mail Benefit Association would eventually become the Railway Mail Clerks Association, which would later be one of the unions that merged to form the APWU. Black workers began to organize against the Wilson administration's resegregation of postal work by race, which relegated them to the least skilled and most difficult work. In the late 19th century, the Post Office Department prohibited workers from joining American Federation of Labor Unions and placed a gag order on postal workers, making protest of poor working conditions cause for dismissal. Despite the gag order, workers continued to organize, forming other beneficial organizations and lobbying Congress for better pay and improved working conditions. Decades later, postal workers were fed up with the poor pay so-called collective begging had won them. In 1970, postal workers held an illegal strike, which began in New York City. A new hire to the post office at the time would have been earning only around $6,000 a year. Congress voted itself a big pay raise, well above the small increase given to postal workers.
Since Wednesday, when 6,500 New York City letter carriers refused to shoulder their mail pouches, the strike has spread from coast to coast. Now it directly affects 14 states and has involved about 200,000 postal workers.
It was a hardship because you wasn't getting paid. You didn't know how long it was that you were not going to get paid.
The resulting 8-day wildcat strike spread to cities all across the country. Ultimately, workers won big pay increases and full collective bargaining rights, allowing postal workers the opportunity to negotiate for better pay and benefits, a right other federal employees do not yet enjoy. Not a single postal worker was disciplined for their role in the strike.
Certainly you would not disagree that this is a wonderful package. Those of you normally scheduled to work at this time return immediately to duty to serve the 200 million Americans who are entitled to this service.
In 1971, Congress responded to the strike by passing the Postal Reorganization Act, creating the modern postal service. After the strike, 5 postal unions agreed to merge and form the American Postal Workers Union. They were the United Federation of Postal Clerks, the National Association of Post Office and General Service Maintenance Employees, the National Federation of Motor Vehicle Employees, the National Association of Special Delivery Messengers, and finally, the National Postal Union. 4 of the 5 predecessor unions live on in craft divisions in the American Postal Workers Union. There are still 4 postal unions bound together by this proclamation of a Postal Union Alliance signed in 2014. At the History Center, artifacts help tell the story of postal work. Hand-cranked canceling machines like this one were introduced as early as the 1870s. Today's clerks might recognize this hand canceller, largely unchanged after decades of use. Then we have a punch clock where workers clocked in and out. Today's break rooms are still called swing rooms because before the strike in 1970, postal workers would be swung off the clock and wait without pay for the next truck or train to arrive with more mail. Through negotiations, postal workers are now guaranteed pay for the entirety of their shift. This old dustpan almost certainly would have been handled by a black worker in the early 20th century, a reflection of the segregated workforce of the time. LPSM keyboards like this were used to sort mail until the late 1980s. The transition from the LPSM to the more advanced DBCS in the early 1990s meant that fewer workers were required to sort the mail, leading to a decline in APWU membership between the early 1990s and 2020 of about 100,000 workers. This box of springs, screws, and other parts was made from a box originally designed to carry gold bullion from the Mint to the U.S. Treasury. The fight for health and safety in the workplace is epitomized by the masks worn during the COVID pandemic, when we won an expanded federal employee leave program to allow postal workers to stay home from work and still get paid if they or someone in their family were exposed to COVID. We commemorate Workers' Memorial Day every April, when we remember workers who died on the job, like Joseph Kursine and Thomas Morris, who died in 2001 after being exposed to anthrax. Over the years, the APWU has fought off dangerous attempts to privatize our postal service. In 1988, we defeated a privatization scheme involving Sears stores. That campaign would be echoed years later in the Stop Staples campaign, which began in 2014 when the APWU discovered an effort by postal management to place retail services in Staples office supply stores across the country. The U.S. Mail Not for Sale campaign defeated the first Trump administration's privatization scheme. The Grand Alliance to Save Our Public Postal Service was first established in 2014 and has become an absolutely essential tool in our fights against privatization ever since. Many of our campaigns over the years have been supported by TV ads.
The next Postmaster General should protect universal home delivery.
A corporate post office could mean you don't get your mail every day. But some in the government want to sell off the post office to private corporations.
Vote by mail has been an important part of American elections ever since the Civil War, when it was first instituted to give Union troops the ability to vote in the 1864 election. The APWU has defended vote by mail against attacks ever since. In 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, a record 69 million voters cast their ballots by mail. The Union also believes that the Postal Service's civic role in binding the nation together could be expanded with services such as the return of postal banking for the many millions of people in the country who are unbanked or underbanked and are subject to exorbitant fees by financial service providers. There are a number of key legislative developments over the decades that postal workers were important in shaping, including the Postal Service Reform Act, signed here by President Biden. Here we explore the APWU's constituent groups, like the Postal Press Association, APWU Power, Post Office Women for Equal Rights, the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Task Force, and the Auxiliary. The APWU has a retirees department, a place where retired postal workers can stay active in their union. The APWU is committed to organizing the unorganized, a commitment set out in the APWU Constitution. It's not just the right thing to do, it's also the smart thing to do. The law requires that postal workers' compensation be compared to similar work in the private sector. So we've got a real stake in making sure that workers across the wider mailing industry win good pay and benefits. The APWU is proud of its history. and of its History Center, which educates members and visitors about the crucial role our union has played in improving the lives of millions of workers, and paints a picture of how we can protect our cherished institution for years to come. We encourage you to learn more and interact with each exhibit on our APWU History Center mini site.